If you've been playing College Football 27 since July 2nd, like I have, you know there are a lot of things that need to be fixed in this game. And luckily, tomorrow is the first big title update for College Football 27, dropping tomorrow, July 16th. And there are a number of fixes that I think will make the game better for a lot of people. It may affect more, some more than others, but at the end of the day, they are finally going to put out the first title update after a few weeks of the game being out. And I absolutely think that the game is already pretty good, and I think this update will make it that much better. Even though I feel there are a lot of things that this game need to do to repair and to fix to make this game, absolutely epic, we're at least getting some of them. Now, to be very clear, a lot of people are not liking the new Dynasty Blueprint. But believe it or not, they created this for a reason because a large portion of the community was asking for more challenges, for there to be more challenging in increasing the level of your coach. That was kind of the point, right? That's why things are slower. That's why they added the 80 expectations and things like that. Because at the end of the day, a coach has to do whatever his university wants him to do, right? His athletic director for his university may have things that he has to do. Yeah, they may say, we need you to win X amount of games, right? And things like that. And I know some of the things may be a bit arbitrary, but honestly, it brings more of a punch to the game, if you ask me. It has replay purpose to it. Because I cannot tell you how many times in 25 and 26 where I got all the way up there almost to 100 and I got so bored I deleted the save and started over. In the last like 6 months before 2027's game came out, I started probably 15 different game saves and got up to like 75, 80, 90, even one got to 98 back in May, and I just deleted it and started over just because I was bored. And so now I believe with the new expectations and things like that, and being able to increase your facilities and stuff like that, and adding the NIL, I think I'll have more fun. I won't be as quick to want to start over, right? If you knew my friends, I'm usually the one trying to start over all the time because I get bored. I would get bored all the time. It happened with 2014, it happened 2025, 26, and hopefully it's not going to happen so often with 27 now that I have more, more to put into it. Right? I have to invest more time, more energy, and more thought process. Basically what they're trying to do is give you choice on how to create your coach and how to best improve your coach, right? And that's the reason that they started with the whole slow burn in the first place. It wasn't because they wanted to increase the likelihood that you're going to buy microtransactions. From everything that I have read, the developers did not want the microtransactions, that the higher ups at EA forced them to have these microtransactions in Dynasty Mode and Road to Glory. And I think that's absolutely insane. There is no reason that the people that have taken over at EA or are planning to take over EA should start dictating how the games are made, right? If the games have been successful, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to change the whole atmosphere of the game by throwing in microtransactions. But the developers didn't do this slow burn to make you buy them. This is not that's from everything that I have read and from what I see from their campus huddle they put out yesterday, that wasn't why they did it. They did it to give you more time and have to make better and make more strategic choices when developing your coach. That was the whole point of the Dynasty Blueprint and everything to begin with, right? That's just the gist of it. They made this new system in order for us to have more of a challenge, and I absolutely love it. I say bring on more challenge, and I say it's a great game. I really enjoy everything that I've played so far. Now, there are going to be some changes made, and one of the big changes, of course, is going to be the change to the speed at which you can earn XP to, increase the level of your coach and everything like that. And I think that's really cool too. I mean, I'll leave it on, the base setting at the end of the day. Apparently, career, which is just the 1x XP, it's basically your normal on today's game, the way the game's playing now. This is your normal coach progression. Um, and then you have simulation with a 1.25 XP bump, and then casual is a 1.5 XP bump. And I think that's actually going to be helpful for a lot of people that are more of those completionist gamers that insist on getting to 100, because I understand that I don't care about that. It's not something I find enjoyable that I even give any thought to, right? I don't care if I complete or not. But there are people out there that want to finish, they want to get to 100, they want to feel like they accomplished something that way, and that's awesome. I don't see it that way. If I win a national championship, I feel like I've succeeded at something. I don't need to get my coach to 100 to feel like I've been successful in the game of football. But also, I think this also will keep the structure of the Dynasty Blueprint in place, and I believe it'll also help you, guide you along. It's still having to make strategic decisions on your coach and how to do things and everything like that. And so honestly, I mean, I don't think this is going to be a bad thing. I think it's a good fix. But let me read you something here that the developers had to say about this particular fix. Um, I'm trying to figure out where it is. Crap. Yeah, let me read here where the different settings are. The career setting is the new default Coach XP speed setting, and it's intended for Dynasty Blue the default intended Dynasty Blueprint experience. This is our design vision and truly captures how difficult it can be to build and sustain a successful program. The feedback we have heard is that this should be more challenging to rebuild smaller schools, and now it is. That was the whole point, right? And then they created, of course, there's the simulation, a balanced coach progression of 1.25 XP. Um, this is best for players who want realistic pace while still progressing their coach at a faster rate. Then there's the casual 1.5, as I mentioned. This is equivalent to the faster setting from College Football 26 and is the best for players who want to unlock abilities quickly and accelerate coach growth. Now, there's a note, and this is what I was trying to get to earlier and I couldn't find it. Note, these settings will take effect in existing Dynasty Coach XP settings and will be available both online and offline Dynasty. In online Dynasty, a league commissioner will control XP settings for the league. Goes on to say, as we looked into player feedback, our goal was to provide more flexibility in coach progression without compromising the long-term progression Dynasty Blueprint had been designed to deliver. Coach XP speed settings apply to every coach in Dynasty, including CPU coaches. When progression moves too quickly, too many coaches reach high-end abilities too early, elite programs separate even faster, and the system that define the Dynasty Blueprint start to matter less. Coach archetypes, staff buildings, recruiting, AD expectations, school resources, coach points, and other long-term goals. That is why the fastest setting is not returning. The new Coach XP settings are designed to give players more control over progression while preserving the long-term balance of Dynasty Blueprint. And I think that's a reasonable explanation. I think they're doing a great thing there, and I think it's something that's going to go a long way to help the longevity of the game and make everybody happy at the same time. It's one of the few fixes I think EA is going to do this on this game that's going to make almost everybody happy because it gives us the progression that the slower people want. It's going to give you the progression um, that the other people want, right? That the people that want to go kind of speed run it want. So I think that's reasonable. I think it's a good happy medium, and I think everybody should be happy with the outcome that we're going to get here. Now, there are a number of things that were fixed in this game, including CPU recruiting logic, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But all in all, I think Dynasty Mode is absolutely deeper than it's ever been because they've added the Dynasty Blueprint, the NIL stuff, having to upgrade your facilities and stuff like that, giving you a budget to work with, and I think that's absolutely epic. I think it's one of the best upgrades to this game since the 2014 game, and honestly, this game is the closest. and rivaling the replayability and the greatness that was NCAA 14. NCAA 14 to me is and was and will always be probably the best college football game ever made. They may be able to get back to that. They may be able to dethrone it at some point, and maybe through decent fixes with 27, maybe they could do that. We'll have to see. But let me read some of these changes that were made in Dynasty Mode. Um, they're making several changes to Dynasty to improve recruiting balance across the Dynasty in the current or the upcoming title update. They were adjusted recruiting tuning to improve how CPU controlled teams compete for highly rated recruits, which is something I've actually seen a problem with in my own particular game save. I'm about 4 seasons in now, and I see teams like Ohio State, and I go to play them, and they're not able to stop my little SFA lumberjack team, in the low to mid 70s, in their overall the offense and defense. And so honestly, I don't see how anybody, you know, any of those teams are going to be able to hold up over time. Now, let's be very clear. This isn't a new problem. This is a problem that persisted in the old games, and it persisted in 25, 26, and now into 27. And luckily, they're finally going to do something to try to fix it. Because I remember in previous games where you would start a dynasty, maybe 5 seasons in, 10 seasons in, all of a sudden, the upper echelon of schools, like your Ohio States, your Floridas, and things like that, because at the time, Florida was still a big thing in those old games, and they would fall off. All of a sudden, you would see, if you took over one of them, you would notice how they were recruiting 2 and 3 star players at 5 star programs. And I've been seeing some of that happen in this game, and I'm glad to see EA is addressing it because there is no reason that I should have been going in with my SFA team, a team that I'd built up into the low to mid 70s, just trouncing someone like Ohio State, right? I shouldn't have just run over them. I shouldn't have won like 53 to 10 or something like that. It doesn't make sense. And I was looking at the ratings of some of their players, and some of their players are rated in the 60s. Their starting quarterback was in the low 70s, which doesn't make sense for an Ohio State. It just doesn't. Um, and so I'm glad to see that being fixed because that was a big problem. Improved how CPU teams prioritize and retain recruits after extending offers. They've also tuned late cycle recruiting scenarios that could leave some recruits without viable offers. Um, there's a developer note. We wanted to dive deeper into this change, so this will be a 2-part fix, with the first part going in tomorrow and a second in a future title update. You may still see some recruits not have offers, but you should see significant reduction in how many are available. I haven't seen as much of that as being an issue, but I've seen people in some of the forums and some of the groups that I'm in discussing that as a problem. Um, the Dev Insight changes should be seen immediately when you log back into your Dynasty. However, full changes from this update will be more evident in your next season when you get to the next season of your Dynasty. They also adjusted the recruiting balance to better reflect expected recruit distribution, adjusted off-season player progression to increase across the board. The developer note for this is that it will increase, it'll result in more players being rated as 90 or higher the deeper you get into your Dynasty mode. They'll also have a second update on that as well, so I think that's going to be really important. Um, and there's some other future updates that are coming up that they discuss, but we'll discuss that when it's an issue. Um, they're also trying to adjust some other stuff as well within gameplay. Um, they addressed in the title update an issue where setting coach adjustments in game settings were not carried into Dynasty mode, which I have seen over and over again because I've made different settings for my coach that just didn't cross over into the next into my Dynasty or whatever that I've saved, like user things. I hope they get into some other issues that I'm seeing here as well, because one thing I've noticed is that changes I've made in settings in Dynasty mode in Dynasty Mode, user settings having to do with AI catching. When you go into the game, that's still not fixed, right? It's when you just turn off AI catching in the menu. When you go to the game, you go into a game, you still have to go to team settings and set it back to off every single time. So hopefully they're going to address that in a later update as well. Um, they're targeting other gameplay focused updates in the update, which includes fixes for the following. Um, defensive package reset during hurry up offense. Fixed an issue where custom defensive package selected by the defensive user would not persist if the offense immediately ran a hurry up or no huddle offense. Defensive packages should now remain consistent instead of resetting back to the default package in these situations. There's also a switch stick input delay. They fixed an issue where switch stick could sometimes feel delayed when quickly swapping between players. Um, they also say go, you have an you can go check out more if you want to learn more about what the team has been tackling. They're working on pancake blocks and other stuff like that. And maybe tomorrow I can get you another video out on that. But anyhow, these are some of the changes that we are seeing right now that I think are going to be really great and they're coming out in this first update tomorrow. Um, anyhow, I hope everyone's having a great time playing the game. I hope you're enjoying yourself. And please come back, hit that like and subscribe button, leave a comment, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.